Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're going to tackle a philosophy that might just flip everything you think you know about behavior right on its head. It's called radical behaviorism, and it challenges the most basic stories we tell ourselves about why we do the things we do.
All right, let's start with something super relatable, something most of us have probably done. Picture this. You're driving, someone cuts you off, and you just lay on the horn and yell. If someone asked you why you did that, what's the first thing that comes to mind? And yeah, that's what most of us would say, right? I was so frustrated or I was angry. We point to that feeling inside us as the direct cause of the action. It just feels right. It feels true. But what if that's not the real story? What if that little voice in our head, our inner monologue, is actually kind of lying to us? What if the feeling isn't the cause at all? This is where a philosophy called radical behaviorism steps in and says, hold on a second. It argues that explaining an action with a feeling, well, it's a mental trap. It's just circular reasoning. Think about it. How do we know he's angry? Well, because he's hitting. Okay, so why is he hitting? Because he's angry. You see that? We've gone in a complete circle without actually explaining anything at all. And this slide really nails the huge shift in thinking here. So the way we usually see it is, I feel frustrated, therefore I yell. The feeling causes the behavior. But the radical view, it flips the script. It says an outside event, getting cut off in traffic, causes both things to happen at once, the feeling of frustration and the act of yelling. Okay, so if our feelings aren't the cause, what is? Let's get into this powerful new way of looking at ourselves.
So, radical behaviorism. This was B.F. Skinner's big idea, and at its heart, it's pretty simple. Behavior is literally anything an organism does. Walking, talking, sure, but also thinking and feeling. And the key is that all of it, the stuff on the outside and the stuff on the inside, is a product of what's going on in our environment.
And that's why it's called radical. See, older types of behaviorism kind of wanted to ignore thoughts and feelings, because you can't see them. But radical behaviorism says, no way, let's bring them in. We're going to study it all. We just see those private things as more behavior to explain, not some mysterious force that starts the whole chain reaction.
So this leads us to a really, really important point. If feelings aren't the causes, then what on earth are they?
Get this. Feelings don't cause behavior. They are behavior. That's the big idea. That feeling of anxiety, it's not the spark that lights the fire. It's just another part of the fire, another behavior that's happening inside our skin, kicked off by something in our world. And why does this matter? Because if the cause is out there in the environment, well, that's where the solution is too.
This example is perfect. Imagine a super noisy lunchroom. You don't yell at your coworker because you have a headache. The radical view says that loud noise, that's the real trigger. It causes both the private behavior, feeling that headache, and the public behavior, yelling. See? They both stem from the same environmental event.
Okay, so if our feelings aren't driving the bus, then what is? Where do we look for the real reason we do things? Radical behaviorism tells us to look outside the skin, not inside the skull. Instead of getting bogged down trying to figure out mysterious things like willpower or drive, we look for real observable things in the world around us. And suddenly, behavior isn't some deep mystery. It's a puzzle we can actually solve.
And the main tool for solving that puzzle is what's called the three-term contingency, or what a lot of people just call the ABCs. It's super straightforward. A is for antecedent, what happened right before. B is the behavior itself. And C, this is the really important one, is the consequence, what happened right after. This isn't just theory, it's a practical roadmap to figure out what's really going on. And that C, the consequence, is the absolute engine of learning here. This is the whole principle of selection by consequences. Think about it. It works just like natural selection in evolution. But instead of shaping a whole species over millions of years, it shapes your behavior over your lifetime. I absolutely love this robot analogy because it just makes so much sense. Any action that's followed by a positive energy recharge, or for us humans, some kind of reward or good outcome, that action gets stronger. It's basically selected by the environment to happen more often in the future. It learned. And this whole selection thing, it's actually happening on 3 different levels all at once. You've got phylogeny, that's your genetic wiring, the stuff you're born with, like that reflex to blink when something flies at your face. Then there's ontogeny, that's your own personal life story,
all the things you've learned through consequences. And finally, there's culture, the way our social groups teach us to behave, like saying bless you when someone sneezes.
So what keeps all of this from just being, a bunch of guesswork? What makes it a science? Well, there are a couple of key principles that act as our toolkit. First up is parsimony. This is a rule for all good science, really. It basically means always look for the simplest, most direct explanation first. Before you jump to some complicated internal reason for why someone did something, you have to rule out the simple environmental causes.
And the second principle is pragmatism, and this is the ultimate reality check. An explanation is only considered true if it's useful. Does it actually help us predict and change behavior for the better? If the answer is yes, if it leads to real, practical results, then we know our analysis is on the right track. It's all about what works.
So let's put it all together. When we stop seeing feelings as causes and instead see them as more behavior, when we focus on the environment, and when we use these practical tools, we end up with a totally new way of seeing ourselves and everyone around us. And this right here is the big takeaway. The whole point is to change the question we're asking. We stop asking, what's on their mind, and we start asking, what's in their environment? Instead of getting lost trying to guess what's happening inside someone's head, we ask a much more powerful and practical question. What are the things happening around this person that are shaping what they do?
By looking outside the skin, we get a scientific, effective way to understand why we all do the things we do. But, it does leave us with a pretty big question to chew on. If our behavior is selected by our environment and our history, where does something like choice or free will really fit in? That's definitely something to think about.